hope you can all hear me okay. Yep. Good, excellent. So thank you, Steve. Thank you, Courtney. Thank you, all of you, for sticking around, for hearing this very important discussion and participating in it. It's very exciting to see so many very big ideas. I have the honor of standing between you and the bar, so I'm going to talk about insurance because I think that's just the right thing to do. So, you know, for big projects, you need big money. And if you're going to put big money into big projects, insurance is actually going to help you to maintain the risk and to ensure that whatever you are investing in will be protected. So let's see if this works. Yes. So I have 10 slides, and I'm going to go quickly through them because I know time is short. And this is a cut-down version of a presentation I often give on space risk and space insurance. So I like to say that space insurance is a critical enabler of innovation and investment. As I said, big projects take big money, and it's very important for investors to have the comfort that the money they're investing into these innovative systems and these novel space activities is protected. Our coverage is very broad. We cover all risks associated with technical issues of launch vehicles, satellites, space platforms, what have you. We cover launch through the life of a satellite. We insure satellite operators. They're really the core of our business, but we also insure satellite users, manufacturers, space station operators, launch providers, and so on. So we really are involved all across the space ecosystem. And we cover all orbital domains. We cover all types of space activity. Like I said, the satellite operator is the nexus of our work, of space insurance. But we also insure, like I said, manufacturers, providers, and investors. And those clients will go through an insurance broker to the various insurance companies in the global space insurance market, of which there are about 24. Actually, it's a shrinking number. We just found out yesterday that one of the insurance companies at Lloyd's of London has pulled out of the business because of the very, very bad experience in space insurance this year. So what is risk? If you ask everyone in the room, you'll have N+1 answers for that. I like to say it's the intentional interaction with uncertainty. You're intentionally doing something, the outcome of which you don't know. So the process we go through in helping our clients to manage their risk is identifying what can go wrong, assess the impact of it, and then treat it. And for treatment options, we can either avoid that activity, just don't do the risky thing. You can reduce it with, say, redundancy or a more capable system. You can retain it. You can just decide you're going to retain all that risk, or you can transfer it through insurance. We cover first-party asset insurance, which really is 95% of the work we do, covering insuring these space actors for the asset that they're putting up there, which is intended to generate revenue, typically. We also do third-party liability. So, for example, the FAA requires launch licenses for US launch providers. So we can insure that liability coverage also. But space insurance is not without its challenges. In our business, we're not insuring 20 million automobiles in California. We're insuring maybe 50 launches a year. So it's a very low frequency of events, low frequency of losses, but when the losses do occur, they're very, very large. This year alone, we've had close to $1 billion worth of losses in space insurance. And premium, probably by the end of the year, will be about half of that. So quite a bad year for space insurance. But we have those years, and we have to be ready for it. It's a volatile line of business. The business also has a very short tail. You know when that rocket goes up, within a half hour or so, you know whether you've earned your money for that launch. And so that combined with the fact that the risks in space are uncorrelated with what happens on the ground. When the Earth shakes or the wind blows or something like that happens, it doesn't affect satellites in orbit. And likewise, when a satellite fails, it doesn't affect anything on the ground. The impact of that is that insurance companies like that. They like uncorrelated risks. So that's actually drawn capital into our market and caused quite a bit more competition in our market over the last 10 or 12 years. So let's look at some market statistics. About half of all launches that go up carry some amount of insurance. The notable exception of that, when we look at the number of satellites, is Starlink. Starlink doesn't buy any insurance. They retain that risk. But half of all the satellites that are launched are insured during launch. And in terms of payload mass launched to orbit, the numbers are similar. About half of the mass that's launched to orbit, other than Starlink, is insured. So when we're talking about things like collision risk in orbit, we look at the number of satellites, obviously, the number of units, the number of potential collisions, and so on. But we also look at the mass, because the mass really will drive the impact of those impacts. The satellites that are up in orbit that we currently insure 300 satellites in orbit. We insure about a third of all active GEO satellites, 10% of all MEOs, and only 1% of LEO satellites. Why so little in LEO? Well, LEO systems are well proliferated, they're well dispersed. The spatial diversity allows the operators to not have to buy insurance, because if you're launching 100 satellites and you need 90, there's your insurance. If we, let me go back. So anyway, in LEO, what we've done is, because we recognize collision risk is a very serious issue, we've worked with some of the SDA, SSA providers to try and characterize the risk of collision in low Earth orbit. It was great to hear Rich talk about the system that Commerce is putting together, and certainly that's going to be very helpful for our industry. In terms of, this is really the money chart for our business. This is kind of where the rubber meets the road. So if you look at this chart, the blue bars represent the premium that the insurance companies have taken in over the past 23 years. And the orange is the losses that we've paid out. And you can see that through the we're expecting, like I said, $550 million or so of premium this year. If you look at how things were in the early 2000s, the premium that was brought in was in a very narrow range of about $750 million to $1 billion a year. So it was easy in the bad losing years like 2001, 2007, even into 2013, to feel that we could cover most of the losses those years. What happened then was the lowering of interest rates pushed insurance companies to want to deploy their capital into more high return areas, so space insurance was one of those. So that, combined with the emergence of SpaceX, the lowering of launch prices, and therefore lowering the amount of insurance that insurance companies needed to buy, along with also the competitive nature of space insurance, really pushed the premium down to less than half of where it had been in 2012. And at the same time, we had a couple bad years, 2018, 2019, where we really lost a ton of money. So what happened was a lot of insurance companies pulled out of the business in the late teens and early 2020s. And with the losses that we've seen this year, the very dramatic losses that we've seen this year, a number of other insurance companies have pulled out. There's definitely a decrease in capital. As a result, there will be an increase in prices, and there's already been an increase in prices for insurance. So how does this all matter to activity beyond in deep space and beyond Earth? Some of the challenges that we face when we look at insuring deep space missions, and these are just a few of them, but they're important. Long mission timelines, when you're launching to, say you're going to Mars, it takes you 500 days to get there and back. It's a very challenging insurance concept. Insurance companies tend, as you know from your auto insurance or your homeowner's insurance companies like to do things in one-year chunks. Well, if you're going to have a 500-day round-trip mission, which could be longer than that if things don't go quite right, it's a challenge for insurance companies to deploy that capital for long periods. Very large values. You know, I have more than $1 billion here. Some of the commercial space stations with whom we've been discussing insurance have values well in excess of that, many billions of dollars. So that's going to require additional capital into our market. Today, there's about $600 million of capital in the space insurance market, actually now probably around $500 million because of the losses this year. Well, if you need $1 billion or $2 or $3 billion, that's hard to come by. What we've done, though, and it comes to this next bullet here, you know, with unique missions like commercial space stations that we really haven't seen before, and an increase in human space flight. We really need to develop new coverages. So one of the things we've done at our company is we've worked with several other lines of business. So for example, the part of our company that does construction risks, they insure buildings being constructed, or dams, or factories, or what have you. Well, you know, building a space station in space is not too different conceptually. There are a lot of different aspects to it from what happens on Earth: no gravity, specialized tools, specialized capabilities, people, robotics, what have you. But we've been talking internally to try and develop more appetite for insuring big projects in space. So it's actually a pretty exciting activity for us. And then we really need to understand some really specialized and novel technologies. We've been talking with some companies about lunar rovers, and we've been talking with some companies about power beaming to those lunar rovers and the various things that go with that. So there are a lot of aspects of the technology that we really need to get smart on. So we have a great team, very strong technical team, and you know, they are able to analyze these activities, but we need more. We need more smart people. So, and the bottom line, though, is we have to be prepared for these new types of risks, and we have to respond with coverages that really make sense for the customers, for our clients, for the space operators, and we need to do that in order to promote this innovation, to promote investment, to make investors comfortable, to make innovators comfortable with exploiting these new technologies. And with that, thank you.